Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. This is going to be a reading from my Saturn book, and it is Natal Saturn in aspect to Mars. So any of you, especially who have any hard aspects with your natal Saturn and Mars, which would be a opposition, square, or conjunct, this is for you. And sometimes, even if you do have it in a more compatible aspect, which is going to be trine or sextile, you might want to take a look at this too, because this could also have some important information for you as well. All right, and I want to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed and who like and who share my videos, because that helps my whole channel to circulate to more and more individuals just like you who need this information. So thank you so very much. And I want to give a special thanks out to Christy. Thank you, Christy, for making this video possible by your request. All right, so thank you. All right, so let's get started here. Oh, also before I start, one more thing. If any of you would like a written copy of this reading, just send me an email and I will be absolutely happy to send you a copy back. Okay, again, Saturn in aspect to Mars. Saturn-Mars contacts have always had a poor reputation, and among medieval and many modern astrologers, they are an index to cruelty or sadism. Hitler's prominent square from Saturn in Leo at the midheaven to Mars in Taurus in the 7th house is forever being offered as an example of the kind of temperament resulting from this configuration. More reasonable analyses have appeared recently which describe the lighter or more positive side of these aspects, and it has been pointed out that Mars-Saturn is often externalized and can indicate cruelty suffered at the hands of others. But in general, the contacts are still considered to denote a harshness and ruthlessness in the individual on some level, mental as often as physical. If we substitute the term projection for the older concept of externalization, then cruelty demonstrated by others to the person with Mars-Saturn is still a part of his own psyche. Otherwise, he would not have attracted it into his life. Even the harmonious aspects between these planets have a reputation for a cold and selfish temperament, although they are also associated with good organizing power and control of the will. As is fitting for the combination of the greater with the lesser malefic, Mars-Saturn is linked with recklessness, a tendency to accidents, violence, and conflict with authority, as well as a penchant for attracting enmity and ill will. There is certainly enough evidence to suggest that Mars-Saturn does express in this rather colorful fashion with many people. However, it does not have to, nor is the only alternative projection so that we can blame someone else for the damage. Like any other Saturnian aspect, this one is full of fear. And also, like any other Saturnian aspect, an opportunity is offered to develop more significant values and greater understanding. Mars-Saturn aspects are more difficult when they are found in men's charts, just as Venus-Saturn contacts are usually more of a problem for women. This seems to be reasonable if we consider that Mars and Venus are the traditional symbols for male and female sexuality, and that Mars, on a woman's chart, being representative of her maleness, is likely to be projected onto a man rather than integrated into her conscious expression. Very important for us females. And just to let all of you know, my Saturn is in Pisces in the 12th house, and it does conjunct my Mars in Pisces in the 12th house. So yes, women, all of us, that is true. We are going to blame automatically, or that's going to be the first thing because we don't know any better, to blame whatever happens to us with this Saturn and Mars. We're going to blame it on the man, on a male figure, on an authority figure, and we're going to possibly act like the victim. But again, I'm not saying this in a negative way. This is what we're going to do when we do not know. And now, those of you viewers who are females, now you can see what this does. And so if any of you have had any emotional, physical, or even sexual issues, victimizations even, let's listen further, because there's another side to this. This is in our charts specifically. So it is true. With these energies, we are calling these situations to us. But it's for a good reason. It's for some positive outcome. So let me keep reading and we will see the details of this. Okay. And not to feel bad, any of us. No shame on ourselves, no guilt, no blame on ourselves or anyone else. Okay. So I'm going to read that sentence again. Let's see here. Okay, so where did that start? It seems to be reasonable if we consider that Mars and Venus are the traditional symbols for male and female sexuality, and that Mars on a woman's chart, being representative of her maleness, is likely to be projected onto a man rather than integrated into her conscious expression. Venus on a man's chart, as a symbol of his femaleness, is also likely to be projected onto the women in his life. Mars for a man, however, is the symbol of his sexuality, and he will generally identify with the qualities symbolized by the placement of Mars when he is considering his role as a man, particularly his sexual role. The effects of Saturn on Mars, when this identification is considered, will often be evident in his acceptance of himself as a man and in his confidence in himself as a lover, aggressor, conqueror, and leader. It is in these areas that the frustration is felt. Although the sun is the symbol for the great creative principle, Mars is a more personal and physical symbol for that same principle. And although society has effectively distorted the concept of maleness into a flat, two-dimensional, and often farcical advertising tool, nevertheless, the quality of maleness as a psychic fact remains valid. whether it exists in a man, a woman, or an inanimate object. When Mars is aspected to Saturn, it is this basic principle of maleness which is usually denied full expression. When this occurs on a man's chart, he often unconsciously feels himself to be somewhat less than a man, until he is able to overcome his sense of inadequacy and learns to understand the deeper meaning of his own masculinity. The characteristic cruelty and ruthlessness of Mars-Saturn, when seen from this point of view, becomes understandable as overcompensation. They are still highly unpleasant qualities, but whether or not they are morally reprehensible is not the issue, for the individual who expresses himself in this way is usually compulsive about it and cannot help himself. Intense inner frustration and a feeling of weakness and powerlessness are two of the more difficult side effects of Mars-Saturn contacts, and it often becomes necessary for the individual to impose his will on others in a forceful way because he is so afraid that he will be imposed upon and controlled himself. This may be a violent imposition of the will, or it may be far more subtle and be demonstrated on the plane of the mind through manipulation. It may also be expressed as emotional domination. Mars-Saturn contacts can easily suggest this kind of exaggerated maleness in the worst sense of the word. And I have to say, males, females, no blame on yourself or anyone else, and no guilt or shame. This, now you can see where this is coming from for each and every one of you. And now you can do something different. You can do something different. So good for you, each and every one of you. Mars-Saturn aspects appear to concur equally frequently with the opposite extreme of behavior, where the individual is inordinately passive and unwilling to fight for his own rights. Again, no shame, no guilt. This kind of person will usually give in under insistent pressure from other people and is generally taken advantage of because he cannot assert himself. When this expression of Mars-Saturn occurs in a man's behavior, he is usually governed by his women and is generally a favorite with women relatives because he possesses that amiable charm which cannot say no. He usually carries within him a deep sense of frustration, anger, and injustice, and this may be expressed finally in an inexplicable outbreak of anger or violence. And here's a quote, "But I just don't understand it. He seemed like such a nice man." Or the frustration may fester within him and be turned against himself, producing illness and a tendency towards self-destructiveness of varying kinds. There appears to be some connection with the parents here, as with all Saturnian contacts, and the key to many of the Mars-Saturn behavior patterns lies in the individual's childhood. Okay, I'm going to stop really quick here. I disagree with that. Now, no doubt there's going to be experiences in the childhood, absolutely, that are going to show because of every single one of us, whether you're male or female, who has this aspect. of natal Saturn and natal Mars, especially if they're conjunct, opposing, or square, are going to have different experiences, negative experiences with parents, with authority figures, teachers, you name it. It's our energy, and we must take responsibility. And that's, to me, that sentence was, to me, and I don't know, maybe others of you, maybe I'm the only one, I don't know, but that seemed to me like the responsibility was being put back on the parents. And I disagree with that. Okay, so let's go forward here. Early frustration of the will by one or both parents is common, and there is also sometimes brutality shown by the father, who may often symbolize the kind of mindless, do it because I say so, authority which, later in life, becomes the target for Mars, Saturn, his hostility. Right. So, and absolutely, you might blame your father, whether you're male or female, for something in the past, something in childhood. I did do that. I blame my mother too, who was also an authority figure in another way. But I did find that that is not the way to go, of course. And I had to work through my personal work, my astrological wheel, just like each and every one of you. And I know that those of you who have reached the point, some of you, I'm sure a lot of you probably have, and it's okay if you haven't, you will see that it is no one's fault. It's not your parents. And so there is no blame. And this is the first start for those of you that aren't at that point yet. It's perfectly all right. Again, we all are going to have that anger, and it's going to be directed to those that are those authority figures, those that are more outspoken or we have experienced negative happenings with us, whether it's emotional, physical, even sexual. Okay. And I know this is a very touchy subject for each and every one of us, and I'm not in any way meaning to trigger any anger or frustration or any of the such in any of you. But if I do, or if any of this reading does, it's a trigger, and you can then take a look at it. If you can, if you will, just keep listening, please. Okay. Because this is stuck inside you, and this is the way out, is knowing the truth. Okay. Powerlessness and curtailment of freedom often occur through strict discipline, early responsibility, rigid religious training, or subtly directed emotional control resulting in guilt. There is also often a stifling or punishment of early sexual curiosity. Actual physical maltreatment in childhood sometimes occurs with Mars-Saturn aspects, and as often with women as with men. Sexual inhibitions and difficulties later in life are often the price paid for this kind of childhood experience. The concept of the will becomes exaggeratingly important because the individual often feels that he has no will, or that his will is ineffectual because it has been thwarted so often. He may either continue to allow himself to be controlled from without, or he may fight back with unusual harshness because his self-respect is at stake. Mars-Saturn people frequently hold to the attitude that the best defense is offense, and this attitude is generally based on hard experience. But whether a person with this contact is boastful or timid, he will generally suffer from deep and painful feelings of inadequacy about his will and his capacity to function as a man. He may abuse women or treat them primarily as sexual conquests because this helps him to feel more confident. But he rarely experiences the feeling of inner confidence, which stems from the knowledge that he is in control. The Mars-Saturn person rarely feels that he has any control over himself or over his life. And this is Mars, whether you're a female or a male. Okay. Mars-Saturn contacts usually extract a price in the area of sexual expression, and this seems to apply to both men and women. The sexual act often becomes a symbol for asserting dominance and is consequently devoid of pleasure or companionship in a deeper sense, and there is often frustration as a result. Mars-Saturn aspects, when they express in this fashion, infer, as do Venus-Saturn contacts, that what we term sex has little to do with the physical body, for the sexual inhibitions which are connected with both these aspects are emotional in origin and have no real biological basis. These inhibitions are generally due to fear of rejection, of domination, and fear of failure. Again, this is both males and females, and yes, it's going to be a little different, but you will know and you will understand, those of you who are listening, which you're going to be listening if you have especially the hard aspects, but possibly even sextile or trine. Just as Venus-Saturn aspects have some connection with frigidity, Mars-Saturn aspects have some bearing on impotence. That's male and female. Okay. In many ways, these aspects are interchangeable and are concurrent with similar patterns. For like the Sun and Moon, Venus and Mars are two sides of the same psychic unity. Aspects between Mars and Saturn, particularly the hard aspects, which again, the hard aspects are conjunct, opposition, or square. And square means when you have, let me see if I can explain this. Okay, so let's say you have Saturn in the 12th house. Okay, so your Saturn is in the 12th house. So then you would have two houses in between. So then you would have your Saturn's in the 12th house. Then you count, going backwards, you count 11th and 10th. That's the two in between. And then the 9th house. So if you have Mars in the 9th house and your Saturn is in the 12th house, that is a square. Going the other way, Saturn in your 12th house, then you'd go first house, second house, and then if Mars is in the third house, that's by house, that's square. And then zodiac sign is going to be different. So if any of you have a question on that and you're not sure and you want me to take a look at your chart to see if it's square, or you want to tell me, let me know, or send me an email, leave me a comment, either way, and I will absolutely answer that for you. Okay, so aspects between Mars and Saturn, particularly the hard aspects, tend to be rendered more difficult to work with because of the emphasis on sexual role-playing, which has been with us for so many eons, and which has reached a new height of superficiality through the importance of glamour in our culture. The collective psyche of man is gradually beginning to grow beyond the sharp lines of demarcation which once were valid, but this slow and steady growth has not been evenly paralleled by social custom. The man with a strong Mars-Saturn contact is generally not comfortable with the cool and aggressive role which is demanded of him. Because of the Saturnian influence, he's driven inward to explore the deeper levels and meanings of his biological and psychological maleness so that he can come to a better understanding of the balance which is appropriate for him between the man and the woman in his own psyche. And that's very much a positive. Very much positive. Absolutely. This kind of introspective direction is not, however, acceptable for a modern man, right? Because they don't want you men to become true men. So you men out there who are listening, bless your hearts, who have a Saturn aspect, Saturn, Mars aspect, specifically, especially the hard aspect. Bless your hearts, because you have more of the ability to become that true man, that true, strong, yet gentle man, true man, on a very deep level. He is generally considered neurotic if he admits to this sort of search. Denied both outlets for expression of his will and his sense of purpose, it is no wonder that he's likely to display the edginess and explosiveness associated with Mars-Saturn contacts. Absolutely. Saturn offers the opportunity for a deeper understanding of the nature of the personal will and the nature of power and control. Bless you men who are working through that and not worrying about what society and others say, and have this hard aspect. But social convention may prevent a person from seeing this opportunity. And those of you who haven't seen this opportunity yet, and right now, yes, I'm speaking to you males specifically, now you have that chance. Now you have this chance. This is why you have this hard aspect, Saturn and Mars aspect. He generally cannot accept the superficial costume which has been laid out for him because he knows its uselessness when put to the test. So you have an inner knowing that there is a deeper reason than what the male-female personality aspects, the surface stuff that they have put to us. Not that those aren't essential, they are essential. The true what I see as might be considered now old-fashioned, because they're messing with us now, especially the more modern, and for our youth these days. Yes, they're messing with us really bad, really bad, so that no woman can become a true woman and no man can become a true man. That's what's really going on. And you, specifically males, have the ability to go beyond so that you can be true males. And I hope you women who have this aspect, you now will have the ability and choose to search deep for your true and bring out that true woman, and not listen to this nonsense that's going on and what they're trying to make us to be. Okay. But he must find new values about his own sexuality to replace those which have failed him, and I'm going to say failed him or her. This author is just speaking throughout the whole book. It's not just this aspect, saying he. So you put the she in where it is appropriate for you, specifically women, because it is true, some of this is speaking towards the man, but you will know the difference. And if it feels like some of this stuff, absolutely, then it is for you too. Okay. Finding it difficult to express himself outward into the world, he needs to turn inward into himself. The woman's world of the inner psyche. To understand that it is not really his failure, but can in the end be his great success. Absolutely. Because he no longer will need to dominate others to prove to himself that he is a man. And I can say by personal experience, because I have this aspect conjunct, that us females are going to, like it said in the beginning, we're going to blame males. So we are going to take the victim role. That is what I have done in the past, and I know you will relate to that. Other women, other females of you out there that are listening, you will relate to this, absolutely. And there could be definitely other aspects and other reasons for doing that as well. But that is naturally, the woman is going to naturally play automatically the victim role. And maybe this also is in conjunction with your South Node, ladies. So you might want to see how your South Node's aspect to this Mars Saturn aspect, because then that's even you will even play more of a victim role in some way. South Nodally, of course, is going to be different for each and every one of us. Okay. And that's even if your South Node is trine or sextile, which is the more compatible of the aspects. Okay. So it's very powerful. That's very powerful. That is very big and deep. So again, any of you who would like the written copy, just send me an email, because I will need your email address. You can send me a comment, but just make sure that you include your email address so I can send the copy to your email address. Okay. And I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I would absolutely love to answer any questions, any comments too. I'd love to hear your comments on this. Okay, well, until next time, bye.